You know, people get this whole thing about respect twisted. Somewhere along the line, folks started thinking that respect is something you can force on people, like if you just yell loud enough, if you just slam your authority on the table, everybody's going to fall in line and treat you the way you want to be treated. But it doesn't work like that. Respect don't operate on demand. Respect is not a handout. It's not a paycheck. And it sure ain't some coupon you get to cash in whenever you feel like it. Respect is earned. It's built. It's created through the way you show up, the way you carry yourself, and the way you treat others. See, when you walk in a room, before you even open your mouth, people are already taking notes. They're scanning your body language, your confidence, the way you hold your head up. And right there in those first seconds, they're deciding whether they should take you seriously or not. That's why you don't got to scream for respect. You don't got to beg for it. And you don't got to chase it. You earn it in the quiet moments, when your actions line up with your words, when your presence tells people, without you saying a thing, that you value yourself. And when you value yourself, others follow. Now let me tell you this. A lot of people confuse fear with respect. Don't get it twisted. You can scare folks into doing what you say. You can make them nod their heads, make them stay quiet, make them act polite when you're around. But the moment you leave, the truth comes out. They don't respect you. They just fear the consequences of crossing you. And the problem with fear is it don't last. Fear fades the second people get strong enough to stand on their own 2 feet. But real respect, that sticks. Real respect don't leave when you leave the room. It don't disappear when your title or your money or your power is gone. Real respect lives in the memory of how you carried yourself and how you treated people. I've seen folks in business who walk around pounding their chest like they're the king of the world. They demand respect from their employees. They throw around fancy titles. They think respect comes with the paycheck they're signing. But let me tell you, the minute that job ends, the minute those employees walk out that door, that so-called respect vanishes. You know why? Because it wasn't earned, it was borrowed from fear, and borrowed respect always comes due. On the flip side, I've also seen people who didn't have no title, no corner office, no fancy car, but they walked in with their head high, they listened when people spoke, they gave credit where credit was due, and they kept their word. And you know what? People respected them, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. That's the kind of respect that's earned. That's the kind of respect nobody can take from you. Here's the truth. Respect ain't about what you demand, it's about what you demonstrate. When you say you're going to do something, do it. When you make a mistake, own it. When somebody else shines, celebrate them instead of tearing them down. Carry yourself with consistency, carry yourself with integrity, and carry yourself with confidence. People might not always agree with you. They might not always like you, but they will respect you. And let's get personal for a second. Respect shows up in relationships too. You ever seen someone try to demand respect from their partner? They say things like, "You better respect me," or "Don't you forget who I am." But here's the kicker. Love don't work like that, and neither does respect. Your partner don't respect you because you demand it. They respect you because you show up for them, because you speak to them with kindness, because you listen even when you don't agree, because you handle yourself in a way that makes them proud to stand next to you. You ain't got to shout, "Respect me." If you're truly worthy of it, it shows in the way they treat you without you asking. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Earning respect takes patience. It takes consistency. You can't fake it for a day and think you've arrived. People are watching the long game. They're watching how you act when things go wrong, not just when everything's perfect. They're watching how you treat the janitor and the CEO, the waitress and the celebrity. Because real respect doesn't pick and choose. It shows up in the way you treat everyone. You see, at the end of the day, respect is like a mirror. However you hold yourself, however you carry yourself, however you present yourself to the world, that's what bounces back. If you don't respect yourself, it shows. If you doubt yourself, it shows. But when you walk with self-respect, when you carry yourself with dignity, with confidence, and with humility, people see it. They can't help but acknowledge it. You don't have to chase it. It finds you. So if you're sitting here thinking respect is something you can demand, let me remind you, it ain't. You can't snap your fingers and get it, but you can earn it every single day by the way you carry yourself. Respect is built in the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you treat people, and the way you stand tall even when the world tries to knock you down. You know what's funny? Most people think respect is some complicated formula, like you gotta be born with charisma, or you gotta have money, or you gotta be famous before people look at you and say, yeah, that person's worth listening to. But here's what psychology tells us. It's not about none of that. It's about simple behaviors. I mean, really simple. Little things you can do every day that make people lean in, pay attention, and say to themselves, I value this person. See, the human mind is wired to respond to certain signals. We don't always realize it, but we pick up on stuff. The way someone makes eye contact, the way they listen, the way they hold themselves in conversation. And those tiny signals, they add up. They decide whether somebody sees you as background noise or as someone they should respect. Let me break it down. You ever talk to somebody, and while you're pouring your heart out, they're scrolling on their phone, nodding like they're halfway listening? How'd that make you feel? Probably like you don't matter, right? But when someone puts the phone down, locks eyes with you, and really listens, I'm talking about nodding, asking questions, leaning in, it flips a switch in your brain. Suddenly you feel seen, you feel heard, and in that moment you value that person. That's psychology at work. Respect ain't about speeches, it's about signals. And here's the part most people miss: these simple behaviors don't just make other people respect you, they make people want to be around you. Think about it. We all gravitate toward folks who make us feel good about ourselves. If you're the person who remembers people's names, who greets them with a smile, who listens without interrupting, psychology says your value just went up in their eyes. You didn't have to buy them anything. You didn't have to show off. You just had to be present. I'll give you another one: confidence. Not arrogance, not ego, but confidence. Psychology proves that people respect those who appear sure of themselves. When you walk into a room with your shoulders back, head up, and you speak clear and steady, folks automatically assign you more value. Why? Because the brain is trained to see confidence as a sign of competence. Now notice I said confidence, not perfection. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be the smartest one in the room. But if you believe in yourself enough to stand firm, people are going to take you more seriously. That's a simple behavior that changes everything. And let's not skip over kindness. Some people think kindness is weakness. They think being tough, being cold, being dismissive is what earns respect. But psychology says the opposite. When you're kind, when you're fair, when you treat people with dignity, you become valuable in their eyes. It's because kindness builds trust, and trust is the foundation of respect. People might remember your accomplishments, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Now here's where it gets deep. Respect isn't about what you say you're worth. It's about what others feel you're worth. And feelings, my friend, are influenced by behavior. If you're unreliable, people feel they can't count on you. If you're dismissive, people feel you don't value them. But if you show up, if you're consistent, if you treat people like they matter, they naturally give that value right back to you. It ain't complicated. It's simple behaviors practiced consistently. And don't think these little things don't matter in big situations. You could be in a job interview, pitching your business, meeting your partner's family for the first time, and the smallest behaviors make the biggest difference. Do you smile genuinely? Do you shake hands firmly? Do you look people in the eye? Do you let others talk without cutting them off? Those might seem small, but psychology shows people form an impression of you in seconds. And once they form it, it's hard to change. So if you master those simple behaviors, you stack the deck in your favor before you even say a word. I've been around long enough to see people sabotage themselves without even realizing it. They think being loud makes people respect them, but all it does is push people away. They think bragging about what they got makes them valuable, but really it makes them look insecure. They think ignoring others shows strength, but it only shows weakness. And then they wonder why people don't respect them. The truth is, they skip the basics. But here's the good news. You don't need a degree in psychology to apply this. You just got to be mindful. You just got to pay attention. Carry yourself with confidence, listen with intention, show kindness, respect other people's time, keep your word. Do those things and respect will find you without you chasing it. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't given to the loudest, the richest, or even the smartest. It's given to the people whose behaviors make others feel valued, safe, and inspired. And the beauty of it, anybody can do it. These aren't millionaire habits, they're human habits. You start applying them, and you'll notice people looking at you different. Not because you demanded it, not because you forced it, but because your behavior made it impossible for them not to. It's crazy when you stop and think about it, but sometimes the tiniest actions are the ones that make the biggest difference in how people see you. We spend so much time stressing over the big stuff, the big career moves, the big speeches, the big achievements, when in reality, the little things you do every single day are what shape the way people treat you. And the funny part is, half the time, you don't even realize those small actions are being noticed. But believe me, people are watching, people are paying attention, and people are deciding who you are based on the smallest cues. I'll give you a simple example. Something as small as showing up on time. Now, I know folks like to brush that off like, oh, I was just running late, no big deal. But psychology says it is a big deal. Every time you show up late, you're sending a silent message that your time matters more than theirs. And guess what? That chips away at respect. But when you show up on time, or better yet, a little early, you send the opposite message. You matter, I value you, I respect this meeting, this relationship, this opportunity. That one tiny action shifts the whole way somebody sees you. And it doesn't stop there. Something as small as eye contact, you might not think twice about it, but the way you look at people when they're talking tells them everything they need to know about how you see them. If you're glancing around the room, if you're checking your phone, if you're staring at the floor, you're basically telling them, you're not important enough to hold my attention. But if you look them in the eye, if you nod when they're speaking, it makes them feel like they matter. That small action, just looking somebody in the eye, can make them walk away thinking, man, I like talking to that person. Even something as simple as remembering someone's name can shift how they treat you. Think about it. You meet somebody, and 2 weeks later they see you again, and they say your name. They didn't forget. They didn't call you, hey, man, or, hey, you. They looked at you dead in the eye and said your name. That makes you feel special, doesn't it? It tells you that you mattered enough for them to remember. That's a small action with a huge impact. And the opposite is true, too. Forget someone's name right after they tell you, and they instantly feel invisible. Small action, big effect. You ever notice how a genuine smile changes a whole interaction? You could be at the grocery store, stressed, tired, and the cashier just smiles at you like you're the only person in the world at that moment, and instantly your mood shifts. That's the power of a small action. And here's the thing, those little behaviors aren't just surface level niceties. They stack up over time. They build a reputation. People start saying things like, I don't know what it is, but I just like being around them. Well, what it is small actions. And let me tell you, the smallest actions matter most when nobody's watching. Holding the door for somebody, saying thank you to the waiter, picking up after yourself, offering a compliment when someone least expects it. Those little moments reveal your character, and character is what earns you respect. You can't buy character, you can't fake it for long, but people can feel it through your everyday actions. Now here's the other side. Small negative actions can destroy respect just as fast. Rolling your eyes when somebody's talking, sighing when you don't agree, cutting someone off mid-sentence. Those little things seem harmless to you, but they speak volumes to others. They say, I don't respect you. I don't value what you're saying. And the crazy thing is, you might not even mean it that way, but that's how it lands. That's how quickly small actions can shift perception. And psychology backs this up. The brain is wired to pick up micro behaviors. People notice tone, body language, timing. They may not even be able to explain why they suddenly feel closer to you or why they suddenly feel distant. But it's almost always because of the small stuff. That's why it's so important to be intentional with your actions, because you never know which little thing is going to leave a lasting impression. Think about the leaders you respect most. It's probably not just because of their big speeches or their big wins. It's because of the way they carried themselves in the small moments. Maybe they shook every hand in the room. Maybe they remembered your kids' names. Maybe they looked you in the eye when you were nervous and said, "You got this." Those things stick. Years later, people remember those small actions long after they've forgotten the big headlines. The truth is, we don't live our lives in the big moments. We live them in the small ones. And the way you handle those moments, whether it's smiling, listening, showing gratitude, being on time, being respectful, that's what builds your reputation. That's what makes people decide how to treat you. So don't ever underestimate the power of small actions. They're the silent language of respect. They're the little bricks that build the foundation of how people see you. And every day, you're either stacking bricks that build respect or pulling bricks out that tear it down. The choice, my friend, is always in the little things. You ever notice how the people we respect the most are the ones who somehow balance two things that seem opposite? On one hand, they walk with confidence. They know who they are. They stand tall. They don't shrink themselves for nobody. But on the other hand, they stay humble. They don't walk around acting like they're better than everybody else. They don't need to remind you of their accomplishments every 5 minutes. That balance, that sweet spot where confidence meets humility, that's where real respect lies. Now, a lot of people get this wrong. They think respect only comes from confidence. So they puff up their chest, they talk loud, they try to dominate every room they walk into. And sure, for a minute, they might get attention. But attention and respect ain't the same thing. People might notice you, but that don't mean they respect you. If confidence has no humility behind it, it just turns into arrogance. And arrogance always pushes people away. On the flip side, some folks think respect comes only from humility. So they downplay themselves, they never speak up, they make themselves small because they think being humble means being invisible. But psychology shows us something different. If you never show confidence, if you never stand firm in who you are, people won't respect you either. They might like you, they might think you're nice, but liking ain't the same as respecting. That's why you need both. Confidence without humility is ego. Humility without confidence is insecurity. But when you bring the two together, people see strength without arrogance, power without pride, self-belief without self-obsession. That combination is magnetic. It makes people stop and say, that's someone I can trust, someone I can admire, someone I can respect. Think about somebody you really look up to. Maybe it's a boss, a mentor, a teacher, or even a family member. Chances are they didn't just carry confidence, they carried humility too. They were confident enough to make decisions, to lead, to stand firm in their vision. But they were humble enough to admit when they didn't know something, to ask for help, to give credit to others. That's the kind of person you don't just follow because you have to, you follow because you want to. And the funny thing is, people can smell when your confidence is fake. You know those folks who brag constantly, who can't stop talking about how great they are. That's not real confidence. That's insecurity dressed up in loud clothes. Real confidence doesn't need to announce itself. Real confidence walks in the room quietly, but you feel it. And humility is what keeps that confidence grounded. Humility whispers, I don't have to be the loudest. I don't have to be the flashiest. I just have to be real. I remember hearing once that confidence is when you believe in yourself, and humility is when you believe in others too. And that stuck with me, because respect comes when people see you're not just out here for yourself. You believe in your abilities, yes, but you also lift people up. You also give them space to shine. That balance makes you the kind of person people root for, not the kind they secretly hope will fail. Psychology backs this up. Studies show that people admire leaders who show both competence and warmth. Competence is your confidence. It shows you know what you're doing. Warmth is your humility. It shows you care about others. When people see both in you, they naturally respect you. They trust you. They value you. Leave either one out and something's missing. Too much confidence without humility, you look cold. Too much humility without confidence, you look weak. The magic is in the middle. And let me tell you, life will test both sides of this. Sometimes it'll test your confidence. You'll be in a room where you feel small, where people doubt you, where the odds look stacked against you. That's when you got to dig deep and remind yourself, I belong here. Other times, life will test your humility.